People don't pay you for your credentials. They pay you for how they feel in your presence. That might sound outrageous, but it's the truth no one tells you. There's something no one teaches us in school: how to own our inner authority. Instead, we're taught to wait for permission, to collect stamps of approval, to chase degrees, certificates, and legitimacy. But what if I told you, some of the most transformative voices in the world never had any of that? They didn't ask for permission, they became the permission. They spoke from the soul, not a syllabus, and people paid them, not because they were qualified, but because they were real. Carl Jung, one of the deepest thinkers in psychology, believed in something called archetypes, ancient patterns that live inside all of us. You don't earn them, you embody them, and that changes everything. So in this video, I want to talk about how you can step into that power, how you can make people pay you for your truth, even if you've never been to school for it, even if you don't have letters after your name. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to share how your story becomes your credibility and why that story is more valuable than any piece of paper. Plus, I'll reveal the #1 unconscious belief that's secretly blocking people from charging for their gifts, and how to shift it. Let's start with a hard truth. People don't pay for information anymore. We've got enough of that. It's everywhere. What people pay for now is transformation. They pay to feel understood, supported, seen. They pay to experience a shift inside themselves. And transformation doesn't require credentials. It requires clarity, authenticity, and emotional resonance. That's what makes someone want to open their wallet, not because you're qualified, but because you made them feel something real. You could be a 25-year-old who struggled with anxiety and learned to self-regulate, and a 45-year-old executive might pay you thousands to help them do the same. Why? Because transformation doesn't follow age, resume, or status. It follows truth and lived experience. And yet, so many people hide their truth. They don't feel ready. They think, who am I to charge? And Jung would say, that's the wounded ego talking. That's the shadow. If you don't heal that, if you don't believe in your own worth, no strategy, no pricing formula, no business coach will save you. Because people feel your energy before they hear your words. And that's the key. Energy before evidence. People can sense if you're secretly ashamed to charge. They can feel if you're looking for permission, waiting for someone to crown you as legit. But the unconscious doesn't lie. It picks up on what the ego tries to hide. When you embody your message, when your voice carries the frequency of truth, it creates a resonance that's undeniable. That's what people trust. That's what they pay for. So if you're watching this thinking, okay, but how do I actually get people to pay me? How do I become seen as that authority without faking it? Good. That means you're about to shift something deep, because now we're going to explore the exact mindset shift that turns your story into your magnet, and how to find your archetype so you stop waiting for the world to say yes. And now let me ask you something, not out loud, just feel into this. Have you ever sat across from someone who didn't have the fanciest title, but something about them made you lean in? Their presence, their story, their honesty, it just hit you in the chest. That's the power of embodied truth, and it's what people actually want to pay for. Let's clear something up, once and for all. Your story is your certification. Every breakdown, heartbreak, burnout, rock bottom, aha moment, quiet healing, and late-night journal entry. It all matters. Carl Jung would call this the individuation process, the path of becoming who you truly are, beneath all the masks. And when you walk that path consciously, it becomes medicine for others. But here's the twist. Most people are walking around disowning their medicine. They see their past as a liability, not a license. They hide the very parts that make them human. And that's the mistake. Because what builds trust today isn't polish, it's presence. Let me show you something. Picture two people offering the same service. One says, "I have a certificate from XYZ Academy. I've taken 48 hours of training." The other says, "I've lived through this pain. I've walked the path you're on. I've healed, and I'm here to walk with you." Who do you trust more? The first one might get your attention, but the second one gets your heart. Because we're not hiring a robot. We're hiring resonance. We're drawn to those who've survived the fire and come back with stories that sound like our own. That's why Jung said, we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, and that's what makes you valuable. Not because you've been trained, but because you've transformed. That's what creates emotional credibility, not a polished script, not a perfect brand, but being a mirror. And this is where most people miss the mark. They think credibility means looking the part, dressing a certain way, speaking like a motivational speaker, faking it till you make it. But that only works when you're in your head, not in your truth. So here's what I want you to remember. Your pain is not a weakness. It's your portal. Your mess is not your flaw. It's your magnet. Your story is not a side note. It's your superpower. The question is, are you owning it? Or are you still editing your life so you look professional? And now we're going to explore the deeper layers of this, including why archetypes matter more than credentials, and how to embody the wise guide, healer, or rebel energy, so people feel your authority before you say a single word. Before we go on, ask yourself, if I treated my story like it was sacred, how would I show up differently? Sit with that, because the answers are already inside you. Now, let's go even deeper. Let's talk about something the business world barely whispers about, but the soul world knows deeply. The people who transform lives, the ones who spark real change, aren't always the most educated. They're the ones who've integrated their truth. Carl Jung called these people living archetypes. They don't play roles. They embody energy. They show up as the wise guide, the healer, the rebel, the mentor, or even the alchemist. And that energetic clarity speaks louder than any sales pitch. They don't need to prove they're the authority. They feel like the authority. And here's the secret. People don't consciously pay for that, but their unconscious does. The unconscious mind, yours, mine, your future clients, responds to frequency, emotion, archetype. That's why someone might say, I don't even know why, but I just felt I needed to work with you. That's resonance at work. That's what money follows. So let me ask you this. What archetype are you hiding from? Did life train you to be the healer, but you're scared to claim it because you didn't go to medical school? Have you always had a rebellious spirit that questions the system, but you tone it down to stay respectable? Do people come to you for clarity, for reflection, for peace, but you still think, who am I to charge for this? Jung would call this the unintegrated self, the part of you that knows your power but doesn't trust it yet. But when you finally own your archetype, unapologetically, something profound happens. You no longer need to sell. You no longer need to perform. You become magnetic, because the world is aching for realness. People are starving to feel seen, and the most powerful thing you can offer is yourself, whole and unedited. Every archetype can earn, every single one. Money is not reserved for the strategist or the salesman or the online entrepreneur. Money follows value, and every archetype creates value in their own way. So if you've ever thought, I'm just a creative, I'm more spiritual, not business-minded. I like to support others, but I'm not a leader. Let's stop right there. You're not just anything. You're carrying an archetype that's designed to make impact, and yes, to generate income. Let me show you how. Number 1, the healer. You don't need to be a therapist. Your presence is medicine. Healers are paid to hold space. Think coaches, energy workers, grief guides, even breathwork facilitators. You earn by helping others come home to themselves. People will gladly invest in that emotional safety. Number 2. The rebel. You challenge the system. You see what's broken before anyone else. Rebels earn by creating what doesn't exist yet. You launch podcasts, movements, disruptive products, radical content. You're the one who says, no more, and builds something better. People pay rebels because they trust them to lead revolutions. Number 3. The wise guide, sage. You hold deep clarity and offer truth that pierces through noise. You earn by simplifying complexity, offering frameworks, philosophies, mentorship. Whether it's on YouTube, in a book, a course, or a community, people invest in your perspective. You help them make sense of their life. Number 4. The lover, empath. You're heart-centered. You care deeply. Your currency is compassion. Whether it's in relationships, parenting, or inner work, you hold others through their most vulnerable transitions. People will pay to feel safe, seen, and soothed in a world that's starving for softness. Number 5. The creator, artist. You don't just make art, you transmit soul. Creators monetize through visual art, storytelling, music, design, even intuitive branding. You help people feel alive, and that's worth more than you realize. Beauty heals, and beauty